Hi there, folks. I'm Emily.
And I'm Elk.
And we are coming to you live from our mother's basement. Because basements they're just the safest place to be these days.
And basements are for everyone, not just for angry white men.
That's true. Or creepy people.
Right.
We're not creepy.
No, everyone lives in basements, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
Yeah.
You are tuned in to Oh My Word podcast. What is this podcast about? Well, we review and promote clean, age-appropriate entertainment that includes books, movies, and plays. And we explain the ratings of the content so that parents and others are aware of what is in the content being consumed. Both the messages and also the specific sexy things and language things and violence things. We have ratings based upon our pearl-clutching scales. We rate violence, language, and romance on a 0 to 4 rating, 0 being very clean, age-appropriate, literally the smallest baby could watch these things, and a 4 rating, which, not for kids.
Or sometimes anyone. Yeah.
Or sometimes anyone.
That's also,
very true.
Books don't have a rating system, and we don't even know how much we could trust the movie rating systems anymore. So that's what we're here for, is to tell you, be consistent in our standards, telling what kind of content is in the stuff that's out there.
Yes, exactly. So today we are talking about, I feel like a drum roll would be appropriate because this is a musical themed movie, but I don't play the drums because Elt doesn't like loud noises. So imagine a drum roll in your head. There you go. We're talking about Coco, the Disney-Pixar movie. Coco is about aspiring musician Miguel, who, confronted with his family's ancestral ban on music, enters the land of the dead to find his great-great-grandfather a legendary singer. The ratings on this one, we gave it violence 1.5. Language is a 0. Woohoo!
Yeah.
We need a sound effect anytime something gets a 0.
Yeah.
Because that's the height. If you've reached a 0, whether it's something meant for adults or meant for kids, if you are at a 0, you deserve fireworks and candy and a good sound effect. So, woohoo! The language is 0, and romance is a 1. Because there's a kiss.
Yeah. It barely got the 1 because it had that. Because otherwise it would be not a 1. It would be 0 also. Because we aspire to 0 in this podcast. I know. So deep. So deep.
Every once in a while, Elt throws something like that at me, and I just have to take a second.
And it's great, because then I get a moment of quiet from her, so it's great. So this is actually, it reminded me a lot of Soul, even though this came out first, but they kind of use a culture or music to give you a lens of a certain kind of culture. Right? So Soul, the main character, is a black guy, and they use jazz music. I mean, they don't really use jazz music, but there's a strong connection between the jazz music and this guy. And here, there's a strong music between Miguel and music also, to show you about, I don't know, do we say Hispanic culture? Because all this goes down on Dia de los Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos.
Muertos, whatever.
Yeah.
See, my Spanish is excellent. It all goes down there, which, by the way, we're kind of, with the violence, it's so on the one hand, everybody's a bunch of skeletons, because he goes into the land of the dead. It's all skeletons. And they bash together skeletons, and skeletons are doing all this stuff. But on the other hand, it's not supposed to be spooky skeletons, but they're still all skeletons.
Right.
Oh, but there's also a murder plot. There is a murder plot in there, which I have questions about, because apparently the guy, this musician who's Ernesto de la Cruz, who's this big musician, he's considered the greatest musician ever, and Miguel wants to be exactly like Ernesto. Apparently he's the one who murdered his great-great-grandfather Hector, by poisoning a drink. But when it goes down, watch the scene very carefully. Go back and watch the scene of the poisoning. There is no poison to be found. So how did he all of a sudden have poison in his drink? We don't know. Because
Disney magic.
There you go. See, everything for Emily can just be solved with Disney. So it's Disney-Pixar, even though Pixar doesn't usually have villain situation, but they actually do here. And we're saying this kind of felt a little bit more of a mature cartoon. Maybe because of that, or maybe because there's just a lot going on.
It definitely has a deeper, not darker issues necessarily, but the themes of family and following what you want to do and your family not letting you do certain things. It does have a certain resonance, I think, with people who might be a little bit older and not just kids, which is true of most Disney-Pixar, but there is something about this one. Sort of like Soul, as we talked about, also had resonance, I think, with older people, but it didn't. Coco, in a way, does feel a little darker.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something maybe heavier about it, maybe.
Heavier, maybe that's the better word.
Yeah, and they did really focus on some really nice aspects culturally and stuff like that about how families are very close. Family is so important. You have multi-generations living in the same house. And here, they don't define where the location is, but it seems like they're somewhere in a Hispanic area. Like, it didn't look like they were anywhere in the States. The way the houses were built and stuff like that, it did seem... I mean, it could be... They don't specify where they are. The whole family works together as shoemakers, right? And there's a ban on singing. There's a ban on music because the grandfather wants to be a musician. Well, the great-great-great-grandfather to be a musician. So he left the house to go be a musician, then he never came home. So the family thought that he had abandoned them. In the meantime, he had been poisoned trying to get back home. You also see how, like, the great-great-grandmother, like, held everybody together. And she said, you know, we got to take care of the family. And she went out, she became a cobbler, and she taught her children how to be cobblers, and their children how to be cobblers. Like, we're going to be hardworking people. We'll be self-sufficient people. We're going to, we're going to provide for ourselves. We're going to take pride in the work that we do. You have a lot of great messaging there about that kind of stuff. And again, also specifically about the family, right there. Everyone respects the elders. There's a lot of like people that they don't necessarily define who they are. Like there's kids running around the yard and you don't know, are these cousins? Are these siblings? Like who are these people? But so there is kind of that aspect of it, but it is very much the focus on the family and about also in this day, that's a time when everyone remembers the ancestors by putting their pictures up on the altar situation that they've got going on there. And you can see that there's stories that are passed down about the family and the family members because we should remember those who came before us. So you do have a lot of good stuff going on there.
They probably decided that they wanted to do a movie about this holiday, which probably more and more people are celebrating. And I'm sure a lot of us have seen decorations for the celebration, but we don't necessarily celebrate it ourselves. So it's cool that was a lot of Christmas movies. So now there's sort of a Dia de los Muertos movie.
Yeah. Especially around Halloween time, you see people are putting up those, well, because that's when it is. But right. You see people putting that. Now it's also interesting because they did the same thing as with Soul. So you have this very, like, this idea of like death and spirit and like deeply religious stuff going on without ever mentioning religion or anything divine.
That's true.
So, which is it, because, I mean, I don't know the exact origins of the holidays, so, but a lot of Hispanics are very Catholic. A lot of them are Christian, specifically Catholic. I don't know what the connection, if there's a specific connection here, but it's interesting how they keep going to do this spiritual stuff without going to religion, which I don't know if they think that maybe they'll lose some of their audience or like, no, we're not going to promote religion or whatever it is, but it's just an interesting, like, who's in charge of the souls coming in or out or going somewhere, like, that's never really specified. And they do have, like, the spirit animals also. It does seem like there's, like, a mix of culture. Like, I wonder if the holiday itself is probably, like, a mixed cultural, but from its origins. I don't know. But you also have, like, the spirit animals, like, we're supposed to guide people, even though I'm really not sure how, because you see, like, a monkey, and then the monkey gets all, like, neon colorful paint as the spirit guide animal and the wings and all that stuff. But then somehow the grandmother has this like massive dragon thing. But when it's in the real world, it's a cat. I don't understand how that transformation happens. Because every other animal is the same animal, just with colored paint and wings. And the only one that changes is the grandmother's massive like dragon that somehow becomes a cat. I have no answers for you on that one. So if that was the one scene that was bothering you throughout the entire film, I cannot answer for you. But yeah, overall, as a general thing, it is darker. I'd say it's a little bit for older, even though it's animated and even though it's still Disney, Pixar. I do think it goes to like the older. I guess a 5-year-old could still watch it, but I don't know that I'd recommend it for a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I would say maybe like starting at the age of 10, which is about the age that Miguel, he's somewhere between 10 and 13.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
That's the age where you might start to also have an idea of not just being part of your own family, but the fact that you also have ancestors. So starting to understand your role in the family. So it might start to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
At that age. I have to say, I remember seeing it. I actually saw it at a drive-in theater because there are still some of those that exist.
Yeah.
And it was magnificent. Pixar keep on getting better and better I mean, Seoul was incredible. There were parts of Seoul when you looked at the streets of New York that almost could have been photographs.
Yeah.
But this one, not only was it realistic, they also do a very good job, Pixar, of being realistic, but not entering that uncanny valley where it's almost real, but it's still not real and it's uncomfortable to look at because that some animation is going that way, or when they do some computer graphic
like the Lion
stuff.
King? Like the live action Lion King?
Yes, exactly. That kind of stuff can be very uncomfortable to watch because it's hard to process the fact that something's fake but so real looking. Pixar is still, the characters have really big, adorable eyes, and they're not real human shapes, even the people necessarily. So they don't make it that realistic, but there's such a clarity. And then this one in particular, the colors were so vibrant that it was just, you almost could have watched the whole movie without sound just for the visual pleasure of it. They really outdid themselves with this one in a way that they didn't with Seoul, because Seoul was more grounded.
Yeah.
Well, especially when it was in New York, not when it was in the heaven or pre-heaven area, whatever that was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But Coco was just stunning.
Yes.
Like you could take any frame of that movie and put it up as artwork on your wall.
Yeah. Though I don't know who decided that the City of the Dead is just this like massive like mountain of just everyone living on top of each other with like subways and trains and all that kind of stuff. Maybe some flat open field. I don't know. Weird. What does the literature say about this? So that was like, oh, they went this way with like very densely populated area. Which,
Pixar really likes to really show different worlds. If you think of Inside Out and how each emotion has its own world, or Zootopia, and they show how the animals all live and the different areas within that world. It's interesting how Zootopia actually just Disney, not Disney-Pixar. No, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's interesting how often they go into showing you, they pull you into the story because they pull you into the worlds and the details are so specific.
Yeah. Good job, all the animators.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, and even though Coco has nothing to do with it, we could all just go drink some Coco now. Last one, we had dumpling. We had dumpling for dumplings, and even though this Coco is, I guess, the family name, but I think we should just go drink hot cocoa.
That seems reasonable to me. Also, I just realized something else. Do you know what I just realized?
What did you just realize?
We've officially done a full year.
What? We have
finished season 1, and this is now the start of season 2.
We gotta have a double. We have to have a double Coco. Double celebration.
Sounds good to me. I might even add some whipped cream.
What?
And marshmallows. And sprinkles. Ooh. What else could we add to it? Ooh, have it with a cookie. I mean, if we're going to celebrate.
You know what?
We're going to celebrate.
It's going to start looking like a Pixar world by the time you're done decorating your Coco. Boom!
That's true.
That just happened.
Thank you all so much for being here for a whole year of putting up with Elt. I mean, I've put up with like years and years of Elt, so if I could do that, you could do a year. But still, good for you.
Make sure to comment about how you're here for me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we are looking forward to sharing our thoughts and our reviews and our ratings on more things with you. And we hope you'll continue to be here. And leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts because it really helps. And also, then I don't cry. Because if we don't get ratings, I cry.
And Stitcher, Spotify.
And you don't want that.
No, we don't want you to cry. That's true. Yeah, don't make me endure that. But also, don't feel limited to Apple Podcasts. Be Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, all the places.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Cheers, cheers.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Oh My Word. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to subscribe and write a review. And please share the show with your friends. If you didn't like it, you can share the show with your enemies. Please also follow us on Instagram at Oh My Word Podcast. There we post episode updates, our ratings for each book, and also our personal reading recommendations. Music for the show is by Tim Burke. Editor is Gabriel Yaffe. We'll see you next week.